Thanks for joining us here today. Great turnout this morning. Pioneer Park, right here in the middle of downtown, has been a gathering place for Salt Lakers since the time the pioneers came, and it has gone through many colorful iterations, we could safely say. It's also experienced some improvements, some investments, and some community activism and activation happening in here. But as with a lot of parts of our city, as we continue to grow and evolve, our public safety needs will continue to experience some growing pains as well. Salt Lake City isn't the small town that a lot of us grew up knowing it to be. Our public safety challenges are continuing alongside with our growing population and downtown economy. But I'm here this morning to reiterate that as mayor, my administration and I are deeply committed to doing whatever it takes to make our city as safe as possible and confronting these challenges that we engage and intersect with as a capital city head on. At the beginning of this year, we gathered for a press conference about crime rates in the city. I said then, as I've said many times, that every city's fundamental job is to keep its residents, businesses, and visitors safe, and that I am dedicated to ensuring that our police department has the resources that it needs to do the work of keeping our neighborhoods safe. The work toward a safer community is really never, ever complete. There's always room for improvement, but I'm encouraged to be able to say to you today that we have made strides in making our city safer citywide, including right here in downtown Salt Lake City. From the start of 2021 through August, the end of August this year, overall crime in Salt Lake City is trending downward. Chief Brown's going to go into some deeper details with some of the statistics and numbers, but I want to highlight just a couple things for you. Right here in District 4, total offenses are the lowest they have been all year. Property crime offenses are the lowest they've been all year. And we're also heading in the right direction when it comes to hiring in the police department. In July of this year, we increased our department's wages to ensure that our police officers are paid at the top salary in the state. We've had 20 new hires since June, and an additional 7 who are rehires of officers who had taken other positions in different departments and have come back to Salt Lake City. We're also anticipating an upcoming lateral class of officers, around 16 in number. Our data and the direction of our police department is encouraging, but it's not nearly as safe as our residents deserve. I was looking forward to this press conference to share this good trending data with you, but recent incidents have reminded us that there is still much more work to do. I'm not satisfied. I don't think Chief Brown is satisfied. I can't speak for the City Council, but I don't believe that our City Council is satisfied either. This weekend, our city experienced 2 shootings. These were isolated and targeted incidents, and they're often nearly impossible to prevent. To the families of the people who were shot, I want to express my deepest sympathy. A loved one enduring such a traumatic event is unthinkable, and I hope you know that the community is thinking of you and that there are resources to support you and your family in this difficult time. We will bring these perpetrators to justice. In the first case, in the first incident, a suspect has already been apprehended, and our officers are hard at work investigating the second incident. And just last week, a disturbing incident occurred right here in Pioneer Park. Clearly, a stronger deterrent is necessary to prevent such crimes. And within an hour of that incident coming to light, Chief Brown moved to expand focus area officer shifts. Some of those officers are with us here today, ensuring that there's a more visible officer presence here at Pioneer Park. We have to do more, and we are doing more. My commitment to this neighborhood and to neighborhoods across the city is that your concerns are my concerns, and my administration will work proactively and with you to come up with solutions just like we did here in Pioneer Park this week. In the next few weeks, I will have an update for you on the city's partnership with the U.S. Marshals and the U.S. Attorney's Office, where we've been focusing on these high-impact criminals in Salt Lake City. But I can tell you today that as of August 26th, 127 defendants have been charged. These are serious criminals that through our city's law enforcement partnerships are off our streets, they are behind bars, and they are unable to commit further crimes in our community. This work continues. We still have more work to do, but with every officer we hire, with the strides we make in our call time response and in our crime rates, our goal is to continue to send a clear message that crime is not welcome in Salt Lake City, and we're going to act swiftly and strategically to prevent it, and then to make sure prosecution can happen when it does happen. I am grateful to the work of our officers and the detectives in Salt Lake City and the day-to-day work they put on the line with their lives to make our city safer. I'm going to turn the time over to Chief Brown to give you some details, and then we'll be happy to take some questions afterward. I also want to recognize that Councilmember Ano Valdemoros of District 4 and Councilmember Dennis Ferris of District 2 are joining us today.
Thank you, Mayor Mendenhall. We are coming off a weekend that saw too much gun violence. What we saw this weekend is not reflective of our city, and certainly will not reflect the future of our city. The lives of 3 people have changed forever because of gun violence this weekend. I am so grateful for the 3 community members who have survived their physical injuries. But the trauma associated with these injuries and this incident will likely stick with them and their families for the rest of their lives. Our police department remains committed to providing victim-centered and trauma-informed services. We will be there for these survivors throughout the pursuit of justice. On Saturday, our gang detectives worked quickly and tenaciously after 2 teens were shot. I am happy today to announce that because of our fast investigation follow-up, 2 suspects have been arrested and booked into jail. While making those arrests, detectives also took 2 loaded firearms off the streets as part of this investigation. The investigation into Monday's shooting is still ongoing. And I want to tell everyone that in that neighborhood, we are working as quickly as possible to bring you answers about what happened and to bring justice to the man that was shot. I also want to make a plea to our community, especially to our younger generations. It is time to put down your guns. Too many lives are being impacted in our city because of firearms. As the police chief, my number 1 priority is to ensure the safety of our community. And our police officers are doing that every day, and for that, I thank them. Our police officers have a very difficult job. They see the toll that crime has on those who live in, work in, and visit Salt Lake City. We will not let crime and criminal activity go unchecked in our city. To those who say there is lawlessness in Salt Lake City, you are wrong. Our police officers are out every day building relationships, responding to crime, and making arrests. And they are referring those cases for prosecution. We are doing this as we continue to hire additional officers. Today, the Salt Lake City Police Department is down 56 funded positions. In August, the last week of August, we saw a 20% increase in calls for service. That means we had nearly 444 more people calling either 911 or the non-emergency line asking for our officers to respond. You can and should be proud of the Salt Lake City Police Department for the work they are doing every day to ensure community safety. We are using data to drive our decisions, and let's take a look at that data for just a minute. As the mayor mentioned, so far in 2021, month to month, overall crime in Salt Lake City is trending downward. Violent crime continues to only represent a small fraction of the city's total crime. Most of the crime we are seeing impacting people living in Salt Lake City continues to be property and quality of life crimes, such as stolen property, vandalism, disorderly conduct. I am very aware that these are real issues and that they have a significant impact on everyone. More broadly, the city is seeing a 2.9 increase in crime over the last 5 years average. While any crime is concerning, 2.9 is small enough to allow us to respond quickly, and that's what we're doing. We have moved resources around the department to help supplement our patrol officers. If we look at the numbers more closely, there are successes, and stories. There are success stories to talk about. In 2015, 2016, and 2017, our overall crime year to date from January 1st to August 30th was higher than it is right now. That means our crime is lower right now than compared to those 3-year high water marks. Still, we have work to do, and the Salt Lake City Police Department is committing to do everything we can to lower our crime rates and to get illegal firearms off our street. Our Detective Division and Crime Lab work around the clock to ensure we are responsive to gun crimes. Often the work our detectives do is unseen. They can spend hours and hours developing leads, searching for videos, and talking with suspects and witnesses. From the top down, the Salt Lake City Police Department is exploring every way possible to reduce our overall crime rate and to reduce gun crime specifically. I want to highlight some crime data that we're seeing in the city right now. In District 1, we are seeing a noticeable increase in crime, especially property crime, which is up 49% when compared to the 5-year average. In District 2, crime is dropping over the 5-year average in areas like sexual assaults, robberies at businesses, residential burglaries, some larceny cases, and drug activity. In District 3, violent crime is down ever so slightly when compared to the 5-year average. Right here in District 4, I am proud to announce that overall crime is down when compared to the 5-year average. Notably, there is a 66% drop in crime over the 5-year average when we look specifically at business robberies and non-vehicle larcenies in District 4. In District 5, overall crime is down, but we are carefully monitoring a concerning trend citywide. Aggravated assaults among family members is up in District 5, nearly 59%. We are seeing more and more aggravated assaults among family members across the city. I strongly encourage anyone who is dealing with family violence to reach out for help. There is always help available at our local domestic violence resource centers. When there is family violence, our victim advocates work closely with these providers to ensure survivors have the help and services they need. The Rio Grande area has been a recent focus of ours. We are in the middle of an extensive downtown community reestablishment and crime mitigation effort. We are bringing in off-duty officers who are exclusively assigned to these focus areas, much like these officers back here. This dedication allows us to be nimble and to respond to localized issues as they arise. While other patrol officers are busy taking call after call after call, these officers are in the community, referring people to services and deterring criminal activity, and thereby ensuring community safety. Today, overall crime in the Rio Grande area is down 3.9 when compared to the 5-year average. Still, we know that perception is often reality for people, and that is why we are committed to doing more. I can't say this enough. The video being shared on social media about the incident that occurred here at Pioneer Park last week is disgusting. That is criminal behavior, and it has no place in our community, especially at a park. When I saw the video, I immediately took actions to address it and other criminal activity that is occurring in the park. Within 60 minutes, our police focus areas were expanded to include Pioneer Park. I want to reiterate how important it is for the community to report any criminal activity. We need to know about the crime as it happens so we can respond and address it appropriately. To those living in the neighborhood, know this: your Salt Lake City Police Department will be out here to serve, to meet and help the people living around the park and the businesses who are the backbone of this community. We're in a better position today than we were in 2020. 2020 was a year no one could have predicted, and still in 2021 we are facing many of the same challenges. Today we are making headway. We are hiring more officers, more lateral police officers are applying, and we are seeing more officers who left in 2020 for other agencies coming back to Salt Lake City. Much of that is because of the pay increases the mayor and City Council worked so hard to give us. Our staffing levels go up. I expect we will be able to improve calls response times, increase our efforts to do proactive community-based policing, and to focus on being out in the community, in parks like Pioneer Park, getting to know and support the unique individual communities within each neighborhood that make Salt Lake City so special. No one knows how to ensure community safety better than the Salt Lake City Police Department. I am proud of the great work the women and men of this police department do day after day after day. As our city grows, the Salt Lake City Police Department will remain responsive. We will adapt to change and challenge, and we will work with all partners who are committed to the safety of this city. Thank you. All right.
Questions?
What about District 6 and 7 on Sugar House Park? Is that in that district? You didn't cover those, Chief.
District 6 and 7 are doing really good, really good. The CompStat reports that you can get online will show that. But we're still, I mean, even though they're doing really well, and there's a lot we want to do, and continue to do in those districts as well.
Chief, talk about property crimes being down, everything going in the right direction, but I believe violent crime's up, and your number of murders in Salt Lake City this year has already surpassed last year, or I think is more than this time last year, if I'm correct. So, I guess, how concerning is the violent crime in the city this year?
It's real concerning. And that's why we're doing everything we can through our CompStat model, through these focus areas with these officers being out here, everything we can possibly do to impact violent crime. And as the mayor talked about, we'll be speaking here in a week, maybe two, about our Project Safe Neighborhood collaborative effort. That is really paying dividends in the communities as we impact violent crime.
Do you have those stats, violent crime stats?
We do, but we're not going to share them right now. More to come.
You mentioned crime in this neighborhood is down 3.9%. Some local groups are saying it's just simply not enough. I know you guys are working on hiring more officers and
Yeah.
being more present in the community. Can we give more specifics maybe on what's being done to improve this area?
I think what you're hearing us say today is that it's not enough for us either, and that we're responding within minutes to incidents that happen here. One incident is too many. And that perception is reality. The experience of our residents and these business owners around here is reality, and that's what we need to be working with and responding to. We also need people to call in, as Chief said, and actually report any crime that they see taking place. And unfortunately, that didn't happen last week. So we encourage people to let us know, let us work with the community to respond, and you're going to see response just as this community has within minutes last week. Chief, do you want to add anything on specifics?
Yeah, just real quick. There were officers within a block of this park when that occurred. And we can't emphasize enough, the communities we serve are our greatest partner when it comes to addressing crime. So, big or small, please call and we'll respond. It's important to us because it fosters that relationship and it builds trust going forward.
A lot of time, effort, money spent on cleaning up your drain. Owners and cabins, they seem to move around. Neighbors. The one that can take it back.
You want that one?
Yeah, you can start.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, on August 5th, you'll recall we had a press conference asking the rest of the state and communities around Salt Lake County to step up. And I know from conversation after conversation I've had with mayors and council members across this state who look me in the eye and tell me, if we see someone experiencing homelessness in our community, we put them in the back of the cop car and drop them off at Pioneer Park. That has to stop. The majority of beds in the state of Utah are right here in Salt Lake City. We have over 850 beds at any given time during the winter months in particular. And we've got to start to balance this out. So what you're seeing from a police response is a piece, but absolutely the solution to homelessness is not more policing. It's a broad need around mental health issues, permanent supportive housing needs, keeping people in their housing. And you saw Salt Lake City commit $16.5 million in rental assistance just in the last year to help stabilize really an inflow, what could have been an inflow to our homeless population. So policing is a tiny fraction of what needs to happen to make sure our communities are safe and that people have secure housing. So since August 5th, actually the week before that, we announced it on August 5th, we've been doing enhanced enforcement of our camping ordinance here in Salt Lake City. And actually, later this week, we'll have another opportunity to tell you some of the results after 1 month of that action. And I think other cities around the county are also seeing some of the results of our actions here in Salt Lake City. You want to add anything?
Yeah, just real quick. Scott, just real quick, we knew that would happen. We knew that would happen. When you relocate an encampment, those that don't take services or housing, they need to go somewhere. And so with the new focus area plan that we have and these officers that are working behind me, we look at the data, we look where people are, people that are calling us, the community is calling us, and we respond appropriately. But it's not always just to make that arrest. We go with our social workers and services. But at some point, these encampments are a public health risk, an issue, and we have to address that as well as the crime.
Can you speak to the meeting you had with the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders? Just can you talk about why that's important and what your intended outcomes are and having those meetings?
Yeah, we, Chief and I can both speak to that. We were grateful that there were leaders and a parent whose child was shot on June 5th with a drive-by incident, that they wanted to come and talk to us. Not only about how our officers and our police department as a whole can better understand a cultural and a community response to an incident like that, which is one of the recommendations from our Commission on Racial Equity and Policing, that we do community-based and community-generated training of our police department. So that is underway, and I think that meeting in part gave us some great connections. But it was a emotional and educational meeting for myself, and I think Chief would say the same. We just sincerely appreciate the community members being willing to come and share their experience and what they think we can do better as a police department in understanding and supporting the community. Do you want to add?
As the mayor mentioned, it was a very heartfelt conversation. Sometimes in policing, we forget the communities we are serving, not to address the crime, but to listen, to learn, and then act and talk about how we can come together to help solve some of these problems that we're all dealing with. We met with the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander group, and we meet with them every 2 weeks. We meet with the refugee community, and we meet with the Latino coalition. And it's really interesting. They all want the same thing. They want their youth to be safe and to be involved in positive activities within the community. So when we meet and listen, we learn, and then we can better serve our community.